So Steve, thank you for coming to Portugal.
Thank you, it's an honor.
I wonder if you could summarize your idea of total liberation.
Yes, the idea of total liberation doesn't mean that we liberate all things totally, perfectly, freely. It means rather that we have a systemic struggle of human liberation, animal liberation, and earth liberation. And as the slogan says, it's one struggle, one fight. These struggles are interconnected. My belief is that we will not win any one struggle unless we win all three. And we systematically unite these struggles as one common struggle against, for instance, corporate destruction of the planet, corporate destruction of life. We have a common enemy.
What concerns meat consumption? Several issues concerning meat consumption. What would you say?
Meat consumption is absolutely crucial for any progressive cause. If the left used to be the champion of progressive values, and somehow they fell behind the curve. So the left today has to understand that animal factory farming and consuming animals for meat is a profoundly important, urgent, moral issue. And it is an ecological issue, and it is a human rights issue, because agribusiness is spreading across the surface of this planet. It is the principal cause of climate change. And it's pushing indigenous peoples off their land. Everything is affected by this. So the question of meat and meat consumption, animal ethics and veganism has to move to the forefront of progressive thinking and radical struggle for the 21st century.
Steve, it seems that some of your ideas are quite controversial, even for some advocates of animal rights. Some people say that you support violence, for instance. What would you say concerning this?
I'd say that if you're not controversial, something's wrong. Because we live in a controversial era, we live in a time of extreme violence toward the planet. And so really, when we're talking about violence in the animal rights movement, first of all, nobody is mentioning violence. And I think people are in fact quite too passive. We're not resisting strong enough. So I'm talking about resisting the violence against animals, first of all. And mostly when people talk about violence, they're talking about property destruction, which I think is supportable. Because animals are property, they're destroying animals as property, and the Animal Liberation Front, the ALF, which is in 30 different countries, is taking animals out so that these animals can no longer be destroyed. Their lives have been stolen from them. They're just stealing them back and freeing them. And I don't consider it violence to remove an animal from a laboratory or any other institution of mass exploitation. I consider this liberation. And violence is doing damage to a living physical being. That's what's happening to the animals. Violence is not destroying property. Nobody is talking about violence in this movement.
You define yourself as a philosopher.
I find myself as a philosopher, a writer, an activist.
Yes.
That philosopher is necessarily an engaged thinker, an organic intellectual in Gramsci's term. My models are people like Karl Marx, John Dewey, Antonio Gramsci, or even Jürgen Habermas. These are thinkers who are involved in the public sphere as public thinkers, saying things relevant to the urgent issues of the time. Not just abstract thinking. I don't think we have the luxury for that anymore in the 21st century conditions of advanced planetary destruction. So all thinkers ought to be engaged. So I think that the job of the philosopher is to be controversial. The job of the philosopher is to engage the issues and crises of the day and to speak in a very clear but intelligent and theoretically informed language, in a popular language that can help common people, if you will, or people not sophisticated in philosophical thinking, understand the problems better. Because we need the theory to understand the practice, and we need the practice to illuminate the theory. So my job as a thinker is really to break down this dichotomy and make philosophy itself a kind of politics or a kind of practice.
So thank you so much. Your ideas are quite interesting.
Pleasure.